I heard you mention in the passing about the one word, over lever or leverage. And I know that's a very dangerous word when it comes to investment. So can you share a little more on that and whether it's ever a good idea to use leverage to invest?
Yeah, I would say the short answer is probably a good idea to avoid it. Um, uh, I do know that you know even someone like probably Charlie Munger used leverage in the very early days. Probably has no desire to use it at this point or even for the last several decades. Uh, so I think the simple answer is that it's probably best. Uh, I mean, there can be situations where leverage may make sense, but I would say if one never uh, used leverage, that would keep you out of a lot of trouble. So I think generally speaking, the thing about the power of compounding is there are really three elements which control kind of what your end number ends up being. So one is the amount of money you start with. The second is your rate of return, and the third is the length of the runway. Right. So the combination of those three elements get you to the end result. And the most controllable one of those three is the length of the runway. Because the thing is, especially for most of you in the room, if you're in your early 20s, you have probably a 60 or 70 or 80 year runway. And the important mental model there would be spend less than you earn. And even if you didn't get spectacular rates of return, if you use the entire runway length, you're going to get a spectacular end result. And so for example, I think this was I think maybe a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, I'd picked up my younger daughter. She goes to school at NYU, and it was late at night, about 2 o'clock in the morning. We were driving back from LAX, and I thought this was a good time to explain the magic of compounding to her. And so she had just done an internship the previous summer, and she had made $5,000 that summer. And the IRA laws allow you to put all of that into an IRA, and which I had asked her to do, and we had done. And then I told her, I said, the thing is that you're 20, for example, and actually she did that. I'm sorry, that internship was when she was 18. So I said, you're 18, you got this 5,000, and I said, what is the value of this 5,000 when you're, for example, 60, 65 or 70 years old, for example. And I said, let's say, for example, the returns are decent. Let's say you're doing about 15% a year, for example. So one of the mental models is rule of 72, which is if you're doing 15% every 5 years, the money's going to double. And so if you go from 18 to 68, that's 50 years. And if you're doubling every 5 years, it's 2 to the power of 10. And my daughter's falling asleep while I'm doing all this math for her. And 2 to the power of 10 is 1,024. And so you throw away the 24, the 5,000 becomes 5 million, tax deferred. At this point, she was wide awake. Okay, so I said, that 5,000 at 18, at 68 becomes 5 million. I said, but at 19 you'll do another internship, maybe make another 5,000-6,000, and at 20 you'll do another one, and at 21 another one, and then at some point you'll graduate, and you might have some savings that might be even maybe more than 5,000. So I said, all of this is getting saved and invested. What is the net worth at 68? And so she said, it's too large. I can't do the math, it's too large. And the reality is that most humans don't get there, right? So most humans don't get to these, huge numbers at those ages. Why don't they get there, right? So one is when they leave their job, they take the 401k and they go on vacation. Okay, so you cannot, one of the 11th commandment, thou shalt not take the 401k and not roll it over. Okay, very important. You can't screw up the compounding engine. So you have to basically, I mean, the thing is, the actions required to get to very significant sums without even earning that much money over a lifetime are very simple. The first action is that you consistently spend less than you earn. And the second action is even if you don't know investing, just put it in an index fund and forget about it. And so even if you're not compounding at 15%, I mean, you could take the same number and say, let's say a double comes in 10 years. Even that is fine. In a 50-year period, you'll get 5 doubles. 2 to the power of 5 is 32. And again, when you start doing that every year with all the numbers, you'll get to a big number. So that is the key, is you don't need leverage. You need to be aware of the fact that there are magical properties to compounding, and there are negative magical properties to compounding if you borrow at high interest rates. So if you have credit card debt, then the whole process is working in reverse, which is terrible. And so don't have credit card debt, pay off the credit cards always, spend less than you earn, and start very early. If you lose your 20s and you start compounding in your 30s, that's a massive loss. That's a lot of lost opportunity. So I think you really want to get started very early.